Now that we have the individual parts model, we're going to start working on our assembly. So I'll start with a subassembly of the backbone. It's made up of 4 pieces. Now keep in mind, as we're building this, we may change the dimensions. That's pretty normal in this process, but we know we just have to go back, edit the sketches and so forth to make a change. I'm going to make a new assembly model, standard inch IAM. I will start with a piece that's kind of a substantial part of the object. You're not going to, build it around some really small component. Okay, so I always like to kind of get it oriented in a way that makes sense to me when I'm thinking about the assembly. So this part here is going to be this where the seat sits. Basically, there's 2 of these pieces that I'm going to mate together. They're the identical pieces, so I just need to insert a second piece. And now remember, you can, if you right click, so if I take a look at this, what I want to do is rotate it around the x-axis. So if you right click and rotate x, right click, rotate, so that'll make it easier for me to assemble that if I have it in the proximate correct orientation. So let's go ahead and mate those pieces together. I'll start with, doesn't matter where you start with those 2 planes. And that's fine. And let's constrain these faces there on those tubes. And what else do we need? We need the side to side this way. So we can use these planes here. With tubing, you're going to do a lot of constraining using the planes. Oops, something's not right there. So if you get an issue like that, there shouldn't be anything preventing that from, let's just check our mates and see what we have. So we have those 2 planes there, those 2 faces, that should be fine. I always like to check and make sure I didn't make a mistake in my constraint. Let's try that again. Oh, I know what the problem is. Okay, let's try constraining with these 2 planes there. Don't forget to check your alternate solution right there sometimes. Yeah, I always think I was clicking on the wrong plane. Sometimes when you have all these planes turned on, it just gets to be too much. So if you do, just go in and turn them off. Let's see. So we need to add these bars that come in here. Turn this a little bit. Add those 2 bars that come in there. Remember, there's a right and a left, and those bars are different. The left side and the right side are different. So this is the left side one. Let's rotate it about the z-axis. Uh-oh. Shoot. Let me insert that again. Let's see, rotate it about the X. No, this is the left side. So that's a good orientation right there. So that works for that. So remember how we notched this. Now that plane right there is the one that's the mid plane for the pair of backbone tubes. So that gives you a good reference. Now I am going to need some other planes to constrain this. So the easiest way to do that is just, I always keep my other models down here so that I can just click on them and open them up. I'm going to need some more planes for my constraints. Okay, so now I got the standard YZ and XZ planes. There's no correct order, just pick something and start constraining. So if I do those two planes there, and then if I do this vertical plane with that vertical plane, those are pretty easy. Now what I have left to do is I've got to constrain it this way. And what I did when I was building these parts is, let's see, I've got these horizontal planes. I could constrain this. Let's see what that looks like. The endpoint of that to this plane. Let's see what that looks like. See, it's a little, oops, sorry about that. So I got that little gap there, so I'm going to need another plane. Let's just delete that plane right there. Anytime you want to check your mates, if you open up the piece, just look at these, and if you run your cursor down through there, you can back up a little bit. You can see exactly what those mates are. So I just deleted it, so I don't have a constraint there. So what I need is a plane that's coming across here that I can use to constrain this to, so it's in the right place. So that one's not quite right. So let's open up, let me go to that 211C and see what I have to work with. That one's not quite, oh, that was the one I used to cut that notch. Let's just turn that off. Let's create another plane. I'll do an offset from here. I'm not sure what that distance is going to be. 8 inches, not quite enough. So think about being, as you're building this thing, like how are you physically going to move it into position? What would you use to locate it? So let's see what that looks like. I think that's a pretty good, yeah, that's a pretty good plane. So I just offset that until I found a value that looks pretty close. I mean, I could figure out the exact number, but it's really not necessary. You're not going to do that in the real world. Okay, so let's try constraining that. Again, that surface to that plane, and that looks pretty good. So that looks pretty realistic for the way those parts will fit together. I need to do the exact same thing on the other side. So that, in my case, is part number 212. There we go. I need to spin that around. Now remember, if you look at the end of this, you can tell about the orientation. I'm not quite there. Guess I should have paid it a little more. Oh, so I'm exactly opposite now. So if I rotate around Y, there we go. That'll work. Yeah, with these tubes, sometimes it's difficult to get a reference. That's why I added this plane right here. So let's constrain that. So I can actually constrain those two planes like that. I'll have to use the alternative solution. Let me just say, okay, so see what only thing I've done is line that up with there. Oh, I do need some more. I need some more planes to work with, don't I? So go to your origin. And I need that one. Is So I can constrain that horizontal plane to that horizontal plane. Oh shoot, I needed to need to flip it. I didn't look for the alternative solution. And that certainly wasn't it. Let me try that again. Yeah, I'm not sure what I clicked on, but that's okay. We'll get it. That plane. And that one. There we go. See, if you're not careful, it'll flip the thing around on you. So what do we have? We have that lined up with there. And that one, those two are lined up. So I just got to get that back, get that the end of the shaft, that's the easiest one, to this plane. And there we have it. So there's your backbone sub-assembly, and those are positioned so I can put the steering neck in. Now all these planes are turned on. We'll have to go through and turn those planes off to see what the finished product looks like. But the reality is I'm going to be adding a bunch of other components. I'm going to need some of those planes anyway. But if you want to go through here, turn those all off. Or you can go to the individual part, the models, and turn them off as you go as well. And they're always there. Turn them back on if you need them. You can add additional planes as you need them. I did have a lot of planes turned on. And most of those just came from when I was creating the models. And some of those, of course, I've added along the way to help me with constraint. And that's the nature of working with tubing. You can use the surface of the tubing a little bit, as you'll see here as we continue with this assembly. There we go. So there is our backbone. So we're going to want to save that. So we'll do a save as. Now what you want to do is for your sub-assemblies and assemblies, it's still frame, so it's FRM285. Let's use 4-digit numbers. So I'll call this 1001. I'm going to put a C on it to help me differentiate that. So anytime you have a sub-assembly or assembly, use a 4-digit number. It'll help distinguish that. Now you're going to have to update everything. It will distinguish that from your detail parts.